were given wild blueberry juice as a supplement, and in 12 weeks, their learning and memory improved. Cherries have also been shown to protect brain cells against oxidative stress. They may help. Just examples. There's a lot more than this. Blood supply to joints. A lot of people get arthritis, and these cartilage have to, the blood supply has to feed from the side. It has to diffuse into the cartilage to feed cartilage. When you get artery disease and some of these real small things, you're going to have trouble with arthritis. We've had people with, these are the lumbar arteries. These arteries go to your lumbar discs, and they've had a number of things that get blocked off from the same process: atherosclerosis, oxidative stress, and their herniated discs start happening. They have shown that the disc just starts to degenerate, and you start losing that nice pad between your spine, and people get terrible back disease. So we'll go on to infections. This was the presence or absence of micronutrients, especially green and yellow vegetables, strengthens or weakens the ability of the immune system, influencing our susceptibility to infectious disease and the course of an outcome of such. Okay, Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." The reason is there are a lot of chemicals in here. It's like taking medicine, people. These micronutrients increase immunity. They resist infections of virus and bacteria. It's been shown. Eating a micronutrient-rich diet may be the most critical factor in our body's ability to combat emerging infections, control viral replication, prohibiting viruses from transforming or mutating to escape host defenses. Numerous studies have shown this effect, limiting viral mutations and replication. So these viruses are not going to get in your cell and spread. They won't get in the first place. You're going to block with a good diet. And they've shown this. It's amazing that you can block the entrance of viruses, bacteria, and you can reduce their spread. Unfortunately, most of the food that the majority of Americans consume weakens rather than strengthens their resistance to simple virus infections. Despite these advances in science that demonstrate the critical importance of thousands of protective micronutrients in natural plants, most in the modern world consume a diet rich in processed grains, oils, sweets, animal products devoid of these nutrients. The combination of being overweight yet malnourished from lack of beneficial plant chemicals leads to more infections, sickness, allergies, even in younger years, younger people, and increased atherosclerosis and cancer in later years. Sorry about this slide, but I couldn't help it. But we're going on to obesity. Obesity leads to all these problems. It's one of the things that happens. And actually, the American Medical Association over a year ago just described obesity now as a disease. And not just a disease, it's epidemic. Obesity affects 9 organ systems, leads to over 40 disease conditions. It's the gateway to all these other things. All these things you can talk about, we're going to go over them a little bit. So 1/3 are normal weight, 1/3 are overweight. That means a BMI of 25 to 30. 1/3 people in the United States are obese. They got a BMI of over 30. That's a body mass index. It's something you have to calculate, but I think this is why it's an epidemic. We got 2/3 of Americans that are overweight. Only 1/3 are normal weight. That's an amazing statistic. And kids are affected so easily. Once kids start eating processed foods and sweets, and they get that taste of this concentrated, addictive food, it's really hard to get them off of it. And look what happened. This is tragic. This is what's been happening since 1960. Look at this. It's horrible to see. Okay, we have choices, right? Everyone's got choices. What is he going to do? It's not hard to say what most kids would do. But Dr. Furman says even kids can be educated enough to realize that they're going to hurt themselves here. And anyway, we'll try it. So again, standard American diet, we saw pretty much what that was. This was just a study that just showed that people that are vegans are lower mass body index, men and women, have lower weights than even vegetarians or fish eaters or meat eaters. Not surprising. In 1970, the average American was eating 2,200 calories, but by 2003, we increased 523 calories. Again, most of this came from added fats, oils, and sugars. What country has the greatest obesity? It's not too hard to see. Look at that. What countries don't? Korea and Japan, down there at the low end.
But some of these are a little surprising. Norway and Switzerland don't have as much. Maybe they walk more. All right, I apologize for this. We don't believe in this. Yeah. But it gives you a little idea. And part of the reason I put this up was because of this was in 1990, and this was, only, 10 to 15% of the whole United States was overweight. I mean, but now it's almost everyone overweight. It's the only, what is the state there? That's pretty good. But anyway, it's an epidemic. Again, another study, this was in Adventists. A lot of Adventists are vegans, and again, their body mass. The vegans were the only ones that were not overweight. Over 25 BMI is considered overweight. And diabetes, of course, happens when you're overweight. It's one of the biggest things. And vegans are of less incidence. This was a study then for 22. Dr. Bernard did this in Geico employees in just 22 weeks. He found this 14-pound weight loss just to show that you eat this diet, most people are going to lose weight. 2 pounds or 2 inches off your waist. So when you get obese around your stomach especially, you get these bad players. These are inflammatory. We've heard of CRP. CRP, people measure it because it's an inflammatory marker and it hurts the arteries lining. And the higher the CRP you have, the more you injure the lining of your arteries. That comes from your fat stores, I'm sorry. And if you got too much abdominal fat especially. TNF-alpha, that's, tumor necrosis factor. Most of the new medications we have for arthritis will block TNF because your body's making too much TNF and you got arthritis. And all we're doing is blocking it. We're not stopping the production of it. But they are good medicines for arthritis. These obesity-related malignancies, breast, esophagus, pancreas, gallbladder, colorectal, endometrial, kidney, again, obesity is going to lead to more cancers. 95% of all chronic disease caused by food choice, toxic food ingredients, nutritional deficiencies, and lack of physical exercise. Dr. Furman says we're eating ourselves to death. The standard American diet is toxic, causes disease, and leads to compulsive eating. This is a problem often we all have. Our standard diet is high in fat, sugar, white flour, is physically addictive, so most people fail. Furman believes that 60 to 80% of the U.S. population suffered from food addiction. This is true whether someone is eating processed food, a low-nutrient diet, or even a high protein based on animal products. People who are overweight struggle with sweets, fried foods, chips, fatty meats in the same way smokers and drug addicts struggle with cigarettes and cocaine. If you are overweight, chances are you're a food addict. You eat because you physically feel the need for food, not because your body has any biological need for additional calories. Concentrated calories like sugar and oil produce within food addicts a surge in brain dopamine, similar to levels found in substance abusers. Investigators from this Boston Children's Hospital found that a meal high in refined carbohydrates produced brain effects consistent with those of drug addiction. Every single subject showed intense activation in the nucleus accumbens, the area of the brain related to addiction. So this article in Nature Neuroscience showed that drug addiction and compulsive eating desensitize brain reward circuits. The pleasure of drugs or the pleasure of eating, we need more and more if we want to reward our brain circuits. Eating behavior is driven by pleasure and reward signals, and the brain now needs lots of stimulation from highly sweetened, concentrated foods to maintain those signals, especially in food addiction. And anything less, you get these withdrawal symptoms, just like withdrawal from drugs. You get physical and emotional discomfort. So, Dr. Furman calls it toxic hunger. When we eat primarily foods high in calories without incorporating sufficient amounts of protective nutrients in our diet, our cells become congested with waste products, free radicals, advanced glycation end products, that's the AGEs. They're oxidative stress. You're building up all that rust and all that junkyard in your body. Oxidative stress leads to inflammation, cell damage, premature cell death. Buildup of toxic metabolites can create physical symptoms of withdrawal between meals. So Dr. Furman calls these symptoms toxic hunger. They include weakness, fatigue, shakiness, headache, stomach fluttering, cramping. I got to have some more to eat even though I'm overweight. It's tough. So he likes to make salad the main dish. This is the last of Dr. Furman's right now, but he loves salads. And, a whole pound of salad only has 100 calories. But he says the key is to get a nut or seed-based dressing, a dressing that's not full of oil and high calories. A lot of people have the 100-calorie salad, but they add, 500 calories of oil on top of it, and they totally screw up what the salad was going to do. But there are salad dressings that work better. Okay, this is prostate cancer cell dividing. Isn't that pretty? So antioxidants in berries and cherries protect against cancer. We saw that. The ellagic acid block formation of tumors. It's the initial evidence that these fruits were anti-cancer foods. Flavonoids have powerful anti-cancer effects. They reduce inflammation, prevent damage to genetic material. They prevent cancer cells from multiplying. They slow the growth of cancer cells. They prevent tumors from acquiring the blood supply. And they stimulate the body's own antioxidant enzymes. This research team from Washington State published in the Metastasis Reviews that 40 different plant-based compounds have identified that turn on genes known to slow the spread of cancer. This is significant because the spread of cancer is most often what makes it fatal. The authors note that this study reinforces a rapidly growing body of research showing that diet, nutrients, plant-based chemicals are opening many new avenues of attack against this dreaded killer disease. 30% of Americans die of cancer, 40% of heart attacks. Okay, every single person has microscopic cancers. It's happening in your body. When you're younger especially, and when your immune system works well, you kind of take care of them. Your own body does it. But even young people, if they don't get the protection from these phytonutrients, you can get a cancer. We see it all the time, even in young people. Okay, we know that cancers occur to a series of mutational events at the cellular level, triggered by our old friend, free oxygen radicals, reactive oxygen species. These are the ones that cause the problem. They have the ability to damage DNA, the cell membrane, and proteins and receptors. But the antioxidants, by virtue of their reduction potentials, bind to these oxidation radicals at these levels, way down in the cell. They interrupt free radical injury by reversing or limiting damage. And they're only present in your whole plant foods. 60 to 70% of all cancers can be prevented by staying physically active, not smoking, and choosing this kind of a diet. Okay, what's remarkable about the diet cancer story is the consistency. Certain foods emerge as important in reducing the risk. Millions of cancer could be prevented if people adopted diets low in meat, high in fruit and vegetables. Colorectal cancer, second most common cancer. People that eat more processed red meats, especially beef, mutton, lamb, veal, and pork, is increased colorectal cancer. Dietary modification, you reduce it. Here's some of the bad players in meats: the heterocyclic amines, high saturated fats, carcinogenic and nitroso compounds. I told you we get chemistry here. High protein, cholesterol, salt contents, heme iron. Heme iron stimulates oxidation. That's, you think you need iron all the time, but it has a double-edged sword. Iron can cause a lot of oxidation. Anyway, this busy slide, but I just want to tell you that here are the red meats, the processed meats. They form these compounds that are broken down into these nasty compounds. The lipid peroxidation, they come down and they start to, injure the DNA. This was shown about colon cancer, and they cause finally a cancer in your colon. Okay, well, we don't need it 3 times a day. I mean, I probably ate this way at one time. I'm sorry, but you don't really need it. As we can see, the more meat you eat, the more colon cancer incidence goes up. Same with breast cancer. The more fat, this is a dietary fat. Those that eat low fat don't get much breast cancer at all. Well shown. Vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, they reduce breast cancer. They eliminate excess estrogens from the body. They increase glutathione, one of your body's mechanism to detoxify chemicals. They stimulate your helper T cells, again, killing cancer, killing infections, killing viruses. Soy foods are pretty good. They have phytonutrients. They're rich in phytonutrients, isoflavonoids. They protect against hormone-related cancers. They actually protect against breast cancer. And we call them phytoestrogens because they occupy the estrogen sites, but they don't cause the cancer. Asian women have much lower rates, much lower breast cancer than U.S. women, and they think that's probably why. They eat a lot of soy. These salvesterols are a group of inert substances. They're found in plants, only organic plants. I don't know, any plant, I'm sure. But cancer cells have this enzyme CYP1B1. And anytime you ingest these organic plants, they have salvesterols, what the cancer cells pick up, and it causes the cancer cell to die. Apoptosis of the cancer cell. And all these fruits and vegetables have a lot of salvesterol. Just another chemical in plants, just another example of something that protects you, especially from cancer. Dr. Campbell, he's the one who wrote the China study, is a great researcher. He first started in the Philippines, and he was under the impression that the sickest kids must have eat less protein. But he found out children eating the most protein had the highest risk of cancer. He thought, you know, these malnourished kids that don't have a lot of protein, they're going to get cancer and sick worse. Well, he found the opposite. The kids that were well-fed, more protein, they got the cancers. So then he did all these studies, even on milk and protein, and he did all these animal studies, and these changed his mind a lot. He did a lot of animal study, but he found it very consistent. When animals were fed basically casein or animal proteins, they grew cancerous tumors when they were given a carcinogen. So they gave him aflatoxin, and he found that if he fed him plant protein, especially lower amount, 5%, the cancers stopped. And so anyway, we'll show that again, but where am I going to get my protein if I'm not going to eat all this wonderful food, right? Is protein a sacred cow? Maybe a little bit. Okay, always people ask, where do you get your protein? And this gorilla says, no meat, or this guy's asking the gorilla, no meat at all. Are you sure you're getting enough protein? So it's true. Vegetables have a lot of protein, and you don't have to worry about it. You're going to get plenty of protein if you eat enough calories of vegetable. No one's going to be protein deficient. It's just about impossible to be protein deficient. The only way you get protein deficient is eating plain sugar for your only food. These are another high protein foods. They're all in the vegetables. You don't need them. Some people like to do complementary. You know, some of the plant foods, they're a little bit lower in lysine, but they have enough lysine. And they're higher in these other ones. And if you mix, which most of us do, mix your vegetables, you're going to get quote, complete proteins. I'm sorry about this slide. It's the only one I could find, though. But these are the essential amino acids over here. These are the minimum requirements for the essential amino acids. And these are the corn, the rice, the wheat, the potato. All of them have more than enough essential amino acids in them. They're not deficient in the essential amino acids. That's the only point of this slide. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a better slide. I took it off my TV with the camera, so. Okay, so it's almost impossible to be deficient in protein. Even strict vegetarians get all their protein. Only if you consume sugar for an extended period of time with no protein, you're going to have it happen to you. How much protein? Yeah, the studies they did, this is back in the 40s and 50s, you only need about 2.5% of your calories in protein to be the very minimum. World Health Organization represents 5% of calories as protein. That's about 28 grams a day. It's not very much. RDA went up to 10%. That's about 4 times what you need if you're eating about 2,000 calories. Human milk is only 5% protein by calorie count. You know, cow's milk will vary because you take the fat out, you get a little more protein, but 15 to 20%, it's a little more than we need. So what's wrong with excess animal protein? Well, it has certain carcinogens that may cause cancer. It's concentrated calories, cause weight gain, a lot of fat and cholesterol. It's high in iron and the fat content. There's oxidation products that it forms easier. It doesn't have any antioxidants in it. It doesn't have fiber. So bile acids, cholesterol hormones are not bound and they're resorbed back in the body. So I just recommend if you're going to eat it, try and eat smaller amounts. And if you put a lot of your vegetables in your diet to counteract and give you antioxidants, you won't be as bad off as eating animal products as your main source. This was Dr. Campbell did again. This is the one that was actually done in India. But these were rats that were challenged with aflatoxin, a very nasty carcinogen. When he fed them 20% protein, this was animal protein. 30 out of 30 animals, they all got cancers. If you fed them 5% protein, even animal protein, 5% didn't cause any cancer. But this was vegetable protein. Nobody got cancer. I know that's a small study, but it's been repeated over and over Dr. Campbell right there did this same kind of thing. He can find cancer clusters. There's a way to detect them. I don't want to go into that, but if you're on a 20% protein diet of animal protein, your cancer clusters start to increase, but you have none of them with that. Same thing with, I told you that Dr. Campbell could turn on and off these cancer clusters just by feeding vegetable protein, 5%, bam, they come right down. More on animal proteins. Again, the high amino acid content puts a high acid load to the body in the pH system. Calcium is leached from your bones to buffer the acid. It induces bone loss and osteoporosis. The high phosphorus to calcium ratio in meat also tends to, you don't have as much availability of the calcium because it gets, the phosphorus prevents that absorption. Plants have a lot better ratio. Your calcium in plants is actually better absorbed. There's high carnitine level in meats that's converted to this nasty player, this trimethylamino oxide. It's a strong free radical. I only got one little slide. I'm sorry about this, but a lot of people think this is a bad player. It comes from animal products. It gets taken up by your gut flora. This trimethylamine. It's converted to trimethylamine oxide, and that's the one that right here that starts. It's a nasty player. Does the same thing as oxidation on your arteries. You can measure it in people that eat, these are omnivores, after a meal, goes right up these bad players. Doesn't happen in people that are not eating meats. Again, calcium absorption, you got so much phosphorus in milk, you can see that. There isn't that much in human milk, it just reduces your absorption. Some people actually get tetany because it takes away your calcium. Calcium in greens has twice the bioavailability. Okay, what about dairy then? Here we go. You've been inoculated with this. There's so many. If you go on the web and just see how many people they're putting up. The American Dairy Association has more money to advertise, and it's really wrong. It doesn't grow strong bones. I'm sorry. All the calcium balance studies when you're eating high dairy, I'm sorry, you go into negative calcium balance, and they won't publish those studies. The excess acidic animal protein has amino acids cause negative calcium balance. It promotes osteoporosis. Countries that eat high dairy and animal products have the highest osteoporosis. Dairy can contain some of these growth hormones. This is insulin-like growth factor 1. It's really a growth promoter, promotes cancer growth and any kind of growth. It was meant to, turn a young cow into a 600-pound cow, and we don't like that. Casein is strongly associated with allergies, acne, a strong cofactor in type 1 diabetes. Almost everyone with type 1 diabetes has anti-casein antibodies in high concentration in their blood. It's amazing. Dairy's, it's rich in fats and cholesterol, has no fiber, has no antioxidants. Did I miss a slide there? Yeah, the osteoporotic fractures are rare in countries that consume no calcium-rich dairy. Western countries, of course, have the highest rates of osteoporotic fractures. And here they are. The fracture rate, animal protein. This is the vegetable to animal protein. The more vegetables you eat, the less fractures you get. So anyway, if you're trying to lose weight, he calls it, this one guy, baby calf growth fluid. You're kidding yourself. Sorry about this slide again, but food allergies are big here. Non-fat dairy, the number one cause of food allergy. Runny nose, ears, asthma, eczema, even bedwetting. This is an amazing story. Because you get these anti-casein antibodies in your body, and it gets into the bladder wall, causes swelling and inflammation of the bladder wall, and kids keep to pee. It's an amazing story. I can't tell it all right now. Anyway, according to the American Academy of Allergy, cow's milk is the number one cause of food allergies in children. According to this one guy, that up to half of U.S. children have some allergic reaction to milk. For these kids, and some adults, milk is the mucus maker. This can lead to chronic problems, coughing, sinus infections, asthma, ear infections. This report said that the allergies of up to 1/3 of children tested cleared after milk was removed from their diet. This British study, 93% of children diagnosed with cow's milk allergy experienced asthma or rhinitis when milk was included in their diet. And of course, rhinitis is itching, sneezing, nasal blockage, and discharge. This Frankowski said the drinking of cow milk has been linked to iron deficiency anemia. Yeah. It has been named as the cause of cramps and diarrhea in much of the world's population, We know that, and it's multiple forms of allergy. Dr. Clapper explains why milk may trigger the production of mucus. When the protein of another animal is introduced into one's immune system, an allergic immune response is created in many places in the body. A common reaction to such an assault by a foreign protein in our immune system is an outpouring of mucus from the nasal and throat membranes. The resulting mucus flow can create the chronic runny nose, the persistent sore throat, the hoarseness, bronchitis, the recurrent ear infections that plague so many children and their parents. Dairy has also been associated with these autoimmune diseases. Talked about that a little bit. Oh, it did go. Okay. We talked about all these foods that contain calcium, plenty of them. Okay, processed foods, again, these have been white flour, sugars, oils stripped from their original plant source. They're fiber depleted. They have a high caloric content. In order to fill the stomach eating these foods, you got to eat 3 or 4 times you would of these other foods that have the fiber and all the stuff in them. So you can't feel sated until you've already ate too many calories. These fast foods also pass in your bloodstream fast. They end up in your fat stores because when it all comes in fast, it all goes into your fat stores. It's like reverse liposuction. They're highly addictive. They give a dopamine high. They establish a craving. And they also, when you don't on them, they establish a withdrawal. So you want more and more. You're hooked. It builds up toxic metabolites called glycosylated end products. We talked about that earlier. They're easily oxidized into destructive free radicals. Same kind of thing here, just that I love these. Everyone loves them. They taste good, but you got to cut them down a little bit. They cause problems. Same with the sugars. Cancers love sugars. So if you want to feed a cancer, you eat the simple sugar stuff. Again, we know a little bit about this, that if you're eating these whole plants, you're getting a lot slower absorption of your carbohydrate, and that's one of the beauties of it. Not only, so when it's absorbed slowly, you can take care of the glucose load. It doesn't overwhelm your body. It doesn't go into the fat stores. It doesn't glycosylate your proteins and cause oxidation product. You get protection. It also has all the phytonutrients and antioxidants to protect from them happening. You don't get it from these fast foods. You're in trouble there. Okay, processed oils. What about olive oil? Is it a health food? Well, it's oxidized readily into free radicals, has the highest caloric density. It just goes right in your fat stores. They contain no fiber. It induces people to intake much more to feel satisfied. Even fish oils, they're oxidized very readily. They don't have antioxidants in them. So a lot of people are really down on fish oils in this group of people that present because they oxidize very quickly. I suppose if you had real fresh fish right away, you might be okay about it, but other fish that you let sit around a while, it does stink, and that's part of the reason. They have plants and nuts, though, have a very beneficial omega-3 oils. You're not going to be short on your omega-3 oils when you eat this plant-based diet. Hippocrates, what a guy. All disease begins in the gut. And I like this too, but this disease begins in the gut thing. When you the food you eat every day has more chemicals and antigens and stuff you're presenting to your intestinal tract. There's more antigens presented to your intestinal tract than the rest of your body in their lifetime. In one day, what you eat, there's more stuff going down. So that's why the gut is very, very important. The whole grains, they have the high fiber to protect, against bowel disease. It has butyric acid, which is a potent anti-neoplastic agent, and it helps reduce stuff in the bowel. Fiber normalizes your transit time, decreases serum cholesterol, binds it. It slows food absorption, which decreases your peak serum glucose. We talked about that. It binds the bile acids, some of which are carcinogens. If you don't have it, you reabsorb your bile acids, and you're getting more carcinogens in your body. It dilutes the gut content, protects against toxic materials, increases your healthful bacteria. This is a big deal now. Everyone knows about healthy bacteria in your colon now. So it reduces the pH of the intestinal tract, gives you healthy bacteria. And these short-chain fatty acids also are beneficial. So here's another Dr. Clapper slide. Saturday's meal's here. Friday meal's in your colon here. Well, Thursday's back here, and Wednesday's right here. When you don't eat enough fiber, You got all that stuff. You got 5 days in your large intestine waiting. What happened? You don't like that because the more time you have this stuff in your colon, the more toxins it can be to your colonic lining. It's not good. I'm sorry about this slide. There's a lot about leaky gut. I'm sorry, I just had to do this. But I'm going to go over here. I'm just about done, by the way. So leaky gut is called something that altered your intestinal